Calm down, man. Let's take a chill pill and discuss this like grown-ups. Ah! Oh! You have any idea how long it took to collect all those? Knuckles! Tails! Where are you?
Hey everyone, welcome to another video. If you're wondering why I sound like this, it's because I'm using a voice changer. You see, I actually have a strong accent that I don't want anyone to hear, so I'm using a voice changer to distort it and hopefully make it sound better. Now onto the video. In 2018, a game studio known as Innislove created the game Among Us, but no one really noticed it until 2020, when the game blew up. You can find many things about it on the internet, like gameplay, art, and of course, animation. And you might have seen videos like these. And those videos are animated by Gametoons. Gametoons is a YouTube animation channel that creates cartoon parodies of your favorite video games. That's what they said. At first, they animated 2 parodies of the wacky game Fall Guys. I thought they were cool and funny, but when the popularity of Fall Guys died down, they stopped making videos about it. After the fall of Fall Guys, they started animating Among Us videos. The Among Us videos were amazing. Just wow. They continued their Among Us content for a while, then they stopped a bit to create a Minecraft animation, which was okay. After that video, it was mostly Among Us content that was uploaded, but they decided to try something new. Friday Night Funkin'. Personally, I thought that video was a bit boring. I mean, it was mostly just songs and arrow pressing. It wasn't that interesting. Afterwards, they began uploading other things like Henry Stickmin, Roblox, and Five Nights at Freddy's. They were alright, I guess. I like the Henry Stickmin one. However, this video came along. It was FNF Mid-Fight Masses. I did not like the video, not to mention the thumbnail. Most of the animation here was pretty terrible. They relied on sprite rigging way too much, and the entire video was just weird, awkward, embarrassing. Wait, there's a better word. Cringe. I wanted to see the microphone swinging action. Actually, no. FNF isn't entirely about that. But come on, Gametoons can do better than this. A couple episodes later, they uploaded an Undertale video. And this time, I really did expect action because it's Undertale. And it did have action, but not as much as I wanted. But that didn't mean it wasn't good. There were many decent animated shots. I actually kinda liked it. But then it was just FNF. FNF Logic but anime. FNF versus Agari. FNF Logic Origin of Evil Boyfriend. FNF Logic Carol and Woody Date Week. I got pretty sick of it. Again, they relied too much on sprite rigging, so much that it literally looked like a 2D puppet show, and it gets worse. Storytelling was also terrible. However, they did post another Among Us Logic video, and it was pretty good. The episode ended with the main protagonist player winning. If you've watched Gametoons, you know that player always loses in Among Us. But since he finally won, it probably meant it was the end of Among Us Logic. So that meant more cringy Friday Night Funkin' Logic. I actually found out the reason why they kept making FNF parodies was because the views were multiplied. Look at this. The views on the more recent Among Us videos ranged from 1 million views to 5 million. The FNF videos ranged from 4 million to freaking 18 million. Among Us was losing popularity, so they decided to stick to Friday Night Funkin'. They tried one more episode of Among Us, but it didn't really work out on the views. Honestly, it would have been cooler if they just left the episode where player finally won. Would have gained more points for the dramatic effect. Aside from the terrible animation and gross storytelling in the FNF animations, they were also getting the game lore wrong. For instance, there was one episode where a demon nun claimed she had an evil twin sister, while in the actual story, she had no siblings at all. They were just making stuff up. And don't get me started on the Sonic EXE one. They were clearly making up everything. Fortunately, Gametoons stopped making FNF videos, mainly because FNF was losing popularity just like Among Us. But also probably because the last video had many negative comments. Oh yeah, they also made a Squid Game Logic series, which was a bit odd because they said they were gonna make animation parodies of your favorite video games. It seemed like they were just targeting anything popular for views. What do I think of that series? Well, the animation was pretty bad, storytelling was a little off, and voice acting was a bit weird. Some of you might disagree, but I cannot say the animation was good. It's terrible. It's terrible. I feel like it would have been kind of cool if they had the voice actor of Ninja voice some of the gods. Ninja could have practiced a couple Korean pronunciations and used it for the videos. If the gods spoke Korean or even Japanese, it would have been more likable. After Squid Game, they made a Poppy Playtime parody. I could tell they were experimenting with different animation techniques, like how they were making players' hair flop when he was moving around. That was pretty much it though. The rest was sprite rigging and basic keyframes. They made more Poppy Playtime animations, but I didn't really like them. Not surprising. Squid Game, but roles are reversed. I don't really know why they did this, but apparently people liked it. The story of the first Minecraft creeper, wow, 21 million views. I bet they're gonna make more of that. They did. Kissy Missy's sad origin story. The story of the first Minecraft pillager. The secret origin of Glam Rock Freddy. For some of these videos, I can't even watch them for 10 seconds. That's how much I hated them. They made these origin stories for a while. I also noticed they couldn't even be bothered to create new thumbnails from scratch. For some of them, Gametoons just copied and pasted some previous thumbnails and edited them. Actually, that's an okay thing to do, but it was way too obvious. Encanto! Believe it or not, I don't even like the movie Encanto that much. But Encanto milked by Gametoons equals absolute nightmare for you. They continued that nonsense for a long time. They tried Genshin Impact, didn't go too well for the views, so they kept making Poppy Playtime videos. The Man from the Window logic, bad storytelling, and mostly terrible animation. Here, look at the scene. This scene shows two humanoid dogs shooting at an enemy. As I said before, they keep using rigged animation. The recoil looks unnatural and just plain fake. There's this rumor that Gametoons is using viewbots to make it seem like their videos are more popular than they actually are, but I'm not too sure about that. I doubt they would risk being demonetized for fame. I could be wrong though. Usually when people comment on the videos saying something like, "Can we just appreciate how much effort they put into these videos?" some dude would reply by saying, "Bot." Which is funny. Fast forward, they create cringy parodies of Wednesday Addams and Mr. Beast, because Mr. Beast is popular, so he is the perfect source for views. Dark origin of Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast commented, "LOL, my mom looks so accurate. Love it. Thank you." Now, Gametoons is making videos about Skibidi Toilet and Security Breach Ruin. So, what do I think of Gametoons as a channel? Well, it starts off as an amazing channel. Creativity, interesting stories, and decent animation. But then they start putting less effort into the animations. They choose quantity over quality by constantly posting videos regularly without effort, and they use animation shortcuts such as motion blur, sprite rigging, to give us the illusion that it's decently animated. Now don't get me wrong, animation rigging can look great. Good example is the channel Piemations. Piemations create their animations using sprite rigging in the cleanest way. It actually looks natural and lively. I totally recommend watching those videos. Be warned though, their content can be dark. I don't like Gametoons. I used to, but not anymore. I would very much prefer Gametoons to put more effort into their animations and not worry too much about posting consistently. But no, Gametoons will always love the idea of quantity, and apparently the audience also does. They got 10 million subscribers because of how often they upload. This video doesn't exist to convince you to not watch Gametoons, despite all I've said.